Hello guys. So I have a bit of a more controversial video today. So I think, and this is a bit of a hot take. It's not even a hot take, honestly. I think some of the perpetrators of the whole Epstein thing are also victims. Let that sink in. I think some of them are both. And you might be like, how are people that are touching kids also victims? One simple answer, and that answer is the only logical explanation for how they're treating the whole Epstein mess. Blackmail. Epstein was brilliant. When it came to business, there's almost nobody savvier. Like, he was a savant when it came to business. I mean, hell, I'm surprised him and Elon Musk didn't get together. Like, it'd be an unstoppable duo. Elon Musk's ability to sell water to a fish, plus his business sense, like, it would have been disgusting. They would have been the first trillionaires for sure. And I find that odd. Elon Musk and Epstein have no relations whatsoever, which I find strange. It's probably one of the reasons why Elon Musk wanted the Epstein files released, because he knew he wasn't in them. Okay. Anyway. So, yeah, I think there's a bigger conspiracy than what people realize. And it's the only thing that explains their, I would always say inhuman behavior. But human behavior is like, when it comes to pedophiles or people accused of them, everybody usually throws them under the bus immediately. It's like, you're even so much as being accused of being a pedophile? Like, you're shoved under the bus, you're shunned. It's like people would rather, it's, pedophiles are not protected whatsoever. People even accused of being pedophiles are usually shunned. So why is it when Trump is being accused, everybody is suddenly defensive? Why is that? Why is Trump magically defended by all these people? And I'm not talking about MAGA. MAGA are idiots. Like, they don't matter. MAGA are idiots. They're part of the No Child Left Behind Act. Like, they're literally born and bred morons. Thanks, Bush. Anyway, for making that generation a thing. Thankfully, it got repealed back during Obama. Thanks, Obama, for appealing the worst act that ever happened. Unfortunately, it was a little too late. MAGA appeared. God damn it. Talk about sowing the seeds for Trump's fan base. Yay. An entire generation of utter morons that passed high school being illiterate. Anyway, I think Epstein had a big scandal. Or, sorry, let me rephrase that. That's wrong. It wasn't Epstein had a scandal. Epstein is basically involved in a giant scandal involving basically his whole child sex trafficking ring and blackmailing. Because think about it. What would be the purpose of having this sex trafficking ring? Is it just for money? Because typically something like that you want to be as low-key as possible. Underground human trafficking. A lot of human trafficking is usually trafficking in workers. They're either sex workers or they're basically slaves. Like when humans are trafficked, it's typically from impoverished places and they're moved to another country or whatever, with promises of a better life or whatnot, and are effectively sold into slavery. Usually ending up as either workers or they're pimped out. Like that's pretty much the only two. That's pretty much the only two things that could even happen to somebody in this day and age. But so, what was the whole point of the whole child sex trafficking ring? Because it was too big. It was too large scale. The scale at which this whole thing was going on, and how honestly obvious it was. Why wasn't it whistleblown until way, 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 way later? And also, why didn't the victim say anything about it before? I find that interesting. I think it's because he played his cards right and made sure that absolutely everybody involved was recorded, and he had dirt. He only recruited people that were basically rich morons that he could easily get dirt on. I mean, he tried going after Clinton because of the whole, sex in the Oval Office nonsense with a grown woman. Who cares? It was consensual. Oh, whoop-de-doo, he committed adultery. It's a grave offense. Grow up. Like, he left office, honestly, kind of a coward move. And even so, like, Epstein tried to go after Clinton, but Clinton, was smarter than that. And so his endeavor failed. And they broke ties well before any of his dirty laundry got released. So I think the main reason why all these people that were ever close to Epstein or affiliated with him defend him so strongly and are refusing to let all these documents release, because I guarantee you a good chunk of that of the material that isn't released yet is blackmail. Why do you think there hasn't been any whistleblowers? The moment somebody had dirt on Trump to get rid of him, don't you think it would have been spilled already? And yet they're being highly defensive. I think because it's blackmail, that just by having it, and if you were to say anything, it would be very obvious where it came from. They know where the blackmail is, and they know exactly who has access to it. So any kind of spillage, or even attempt to spill it, because, there's a certain way of whistleblowing. Like, you basically end up getting witness protection. It's hard to be a whistleblower because, an ICE personnel just murdered somebody in cold blood, and they're defending that. AKA, that sets a precedent that they could simply send ICE after somebody, have them shot, and just simply say, I was defending myself. And you're apparently forced to believe it. This is a cut and dry case of murder, and nothing's happening. They're saying she's the victim. She is the victim. They're saying she's the perpetrator. Sorry. I said that backwards because that's what they are saying. Anyway. It is obvious to everybody that she's a victim. There was enough camera angle footage taken of the whole scene that you could 3D render it as a movie that you could freely walk around in a 3D simulation. There's absolutely not a single inch that wasn't covered by a camera at some point. So we know exactly what happened, at what time, for what duration. I literally did some research into, could that car have possibly been considered, at any stretch of the imagination, to be a danger? And the answer was no. For one thing, that truck was on icy roads, so the math didn't even include that, but it would actually make the math even worse. So between 0 and 25 miles per hour, the chance of injury or death is extremely low. Like 23 miles an hour plus is enough to, as a 10% chance of killing somebody. Anything below that is basically a 10% chance of getting injured. At between like 0 and 15 miles per hour, it's almost like you'd get bumped. Put it this way. The average person runs at like around 8 miles an hour. A car moving at 10 would be like somebody just running into you. You just get knocked over and you get back up. Not a big deal. But you're like, oh, but all the mass coming at you at that speed. Doesn't matter. Speed is relative. A pebble coming at you at 10 miles an hour and a freight train coming at you at 10 miles an hour hit for the same force. They hit for the exact same force. At least I think so. It's just the amount of surface area. The P, obviously, would, when it hits you, has a lot less surface area impacting you than a freight train. But let's say a heavily weighted freight train and a freight train that was empty, and both of them going the exact same speed and hitting you would do the exact same amount of damage. The only thing, it's, at least as far as I'm aware, that's how that works. Honestly, it's also the hardness of the material. Okay, I'm misinterpreting weight, mass, and the hardness of the material hitting you. Obviously, a harder material would do more damage. Anyway, side tangent. Some of what I said was incorrect. Doesn't really matter. The point is, after that whole tangent, the point is, at point blank range, there is absolutely no possible way that car could have injured him. With the sole exception of him slipping, falling over, and him being run over. And the likelihood of that was maybe 1%. You do not shoot somebody in the face 3 times on a 1% chance. In fact, the ICE guidelines, I kind of want to put a picture up here of the ICE guidelines. I might. The ICE guidelines straight up say that a vehicle is not considered a weapon by it for any reason. A vehicle is not a weapon. 2, if there is any way of getting away from a moving vehicle, that is to be considered first, above all else. And then 3, only as a last resort, if there is no other choice, then you shoot. And even then, your first instinct is to shoot to disable, not to kill. Those are literally the ICE guidelines. The DOJ guidelines. Also, doesn't help that the officer in question, even calling him an officer is, he's not an officer, he's a scumbag. But anyway, the ICE official, there we go. He's official, but he's not an officer. I will not give him that title. He's a scumbag. He's an ICE scumbag. But anyway, he was standing in front of a potentially moving vehicle. A vehicle that is running and has somebody in it, you do not stand in front of for any reason. That is just being stupid, and honestly, that holds him liable. Regardless of anything else. Him not following rules, standing in front of the vehicle to begin with. Those two things throw the case right out. She's a victim because he did not follow protocol. Him not following protocol made any other excuse, oh, but she tried to hit him, irrelevant. Protocol literally exists so that these situations do not happen in the first place. That is literally the point of these protocols, is so these situations do not happen in the first place. Because people do not like to argue about, intent and nitpicky. People don't want to do that. They want a cut and dry thing. That is why, to avoid all of this nitpicky bullshit, they have rules that they must follow. That is why, you watch a cop show. These people say, go by the book. Don't run in, go guns blazing, even though you could, and it might even be the best option. You follow protocol so that way if things go south, it ain't your ass on the line. As long as you follow protocol, your ass is covered. Because they are going to barbecue your ass after they skewer it if you don't follow protocol. So why is this guy not up there simmering on a platter? Although, honestly, he needs to have his ass shoved in a freezer and forgotten about. Anyway. Enough of that ICE rant. Honestly, that whole thing is literally just obvious. Saying she's anything but a victim. You are an ignorant buffoon. And a final note about that Epstein thing, because I need to go now. A final note about the Epstein thing. I think it's a blackmail ring. Because, honestly, the behavior of everybody in the White House, Trump's behavior, Vance's behavior, Pam Bondi's behavior, Kash Patel's behavior, all of these people are part of a blackmail ring. He had dirt on them. And if that dirt gets out, their careers are ruined. So that's why they are defending everything. They are stonewalling, they are defending because they don't have a choice. They're not doing it to be malicious. I think they're doing it because they literally do not have a choice. Their balls are in a vice with a timer on it and a switch. Or not even a timer. Their balls are in a vice, and all it takes is someone to press a button and now you're neutered. Good job. The most painful way of getting neutered. So to avoid that, their life on the line, or their manhood on the line, or whatever, doesn't matter. These people are defending because they don't have a choice. Doesn't make it right. But I kind of wish the higher-ups could see that is possibly the option, and give them an out. Allow them to whistleblow without repercussions. If this whole thing is a blackmail ring, like I think it is, because there's no other explanation for this bullshit, it's a blackmail ring. The fact that someone being blackmailed should not be held fully accountable for their actions, because they were literally forced. They were coerced. Even if those actions are evil, if blackmail was involved that forced them to act this way, they should not be held fully accountable. They should get a much lesser sentence, if any at all, honestly, depending on what they were doing. I honestly think that there's probably quite a few of them that, let's say, they thought they were sleeping with someone who was 21, and it turns out they were 16. The guy videotapes the whole thing and is like, this little flash drive has all your dirty laundry on it that I coerced you into doing without your consent and without your knowledge. You work for me now and do exactly as I say, or else. Dangle, dangle, dangle. I bet he did that basically all the time. So, yeah. I think that is exactly what's going on. It explains so much. There's no other possible explanation for what's going on other than that. Anyway, this video has gone on long enough. I'll be seeing you. Good night.